Joining us now to weigh in, New York Congresswoman Claudia Tenney and New York Congressman Tom Suozzi. Good to see you both. Congresswoman Tenney.
Right? Yeah, Suozzi.
Suozzi. I said it right, didn't I, Congressman?
That was close.
But Congresswoman Tenney, your reaction on these markets, because I would argue that the president of your party has put you in a tough bind where now you're going to get asked about the stock market.
I don't think so. I mean, to be honest with you, the stock market is not the only determination of what's going on in the marketplace. I, in fact, sold a bunch of things last week because I had some things to pay off. So after Christmas and all those good things, I sold some stuff. So I think what you had yesterday was a bargain hunter's market, and people are out, and all of a sudden the stocks rebounded. I think when you look at the interest rates, a little bit of adjustment in the interest rates with the new Fed chairman, I think that makes a difference. The growth is certainly from the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act is certainly important. And I might cite an industry. The Tax Foundation has stated that New York is going to be one of the biggest growth states because of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. So I think it's really interesting to see how this plays out over the next few months.
Congressman Suozzi, do you agree with your fellow congressman from the state of New York? But also, have you been hearing from any of your constituents, given just what's happened in the market the last few days, or really in the last week or so?
You know, people are worried about the effect of the tax plan because in my part of the state, we're going to be hit very hard by the elimination of the state and local tax deduction. And the tax plan actually increased the deficit significantly by about $1.5 trillion. In addition, there's talk of a new infrastructure plan, which will increase the debt even further. There's this plan of the CR that's going to be coming up that will increase the debt even further. All these things together increase the debt that may have an impact on actually stimulating the economy in a way, but it'll cause interest rates to go up. When interest rates go up, our debt service goes up because of our huge deficits in the federal government, and that could be what's scaring the marketplace. So right now, deficits are a big concern to the marketplace.
Well, Congressman Suozzi, were you worried about the debt doubling under President Obama? Was that a concern for you? Were you worried about it then? That was over 8 years.
Actually, I was in the private sector at the time. I wasn't paying quite as close attention at the time, but the reality is that the debt that doubled during that time was because of the stimulus package. It was to try and actually force the economy to grow. The economy has been growing since President Obama's administration and now into the Trump administration. It's been growing, 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 growing. And the concern is that by adding debt at this time, we're going to hyperinflate the market and get it moving too frothy. And that scares people that our deficits are going to grow. And that's why we're seeing this volatility in the marketplace right now.
And that also falls on the members of Congress, not in terms of cutting spending. And I want to point out that the House did pass another stopgap spending bill yesterday. It funds the government through March 23rd and now goes to the Senate. Leaders there are really, there's some issue with the defense part of the stopgap that was passed by the House, what happens with that vote. But the Senate is working on a longer 2-year budget deal. President Trump throwing an immigration grenade into the budget talks, saying he's prepared to shut down the government if Congress doesn't pass border security measures. Listen to this and I'll get your reaction.
If we don't change the legislation, if we don't get rid of these loopholes where killers are allowed to come into our country and continue to kill gang members, and we're just talking about MS-13, there are many gang members that we don't even mention. If we don't change it, let's have a shutdown. We'll do a shutdown. If we have to shut it down because the Democrats don't want safety, and unrelated but still related, they don't want to take care of our military, then shut it down. We'll go with another shutdown.
Congresswoman Tenney, is that helpful?
Let me first say something about Mr. Suozzi's comments. First of all, Democrats have no other issues to run, and all of a sudden they're newfound deficit hawks. They care a lot about the deficit and the debt, which they never cared about before. And they cared about huge, $1 trillion in stimulus before that didn't spur the economy to the levels of growth that we're expecting to see just in 1 year of rolling back regulations, cutting taxes, and now we're predicting even bigger growth in spite of what the stock market's fluctuations. So I just say that I would not give credit to President Obama for this. I think this is clearly the enthusiasm from businesses knowing they're not going to get sucker punched by government and officials on the federal and hopefully not the state side. So Tom and I know what it's like to live and work in New York State. But on the president's side of it, I mean, the president's a negotiator. He wants us to act on this. He had a very, very generous offer during the State of the Union on immigration, which really shouldn't be impacting what we're doing with the continuing resolution. And I'm concerned about our military. My son's an active duty Marine. We are giving less predictable funding to our military, which puts them at risk and also puts our country's security at risk. So I'm concerned about that. But as far as the immigration package, I mean, really what the president has offered are very similar to things that Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, maybe not Nancy Pelosi, maybe Senator Feinstein have voted on many times in the past, and they've supported, not just voted on, but supported as well. And so I think that those are things we got to look to. And I think, we have time with DACA. I think let's sit down in a bipartisan way and come up with a solution.
Well, that's what's going on with the Senate, the top senators pursuing this 2-year budget deal, separating, for now, stalled immigration fight and actually increasing spending. Congressman Suozzi, $80 billion a year in defense, and also on the non-defense side as well, which is what Democrats have pushed for, is $63 billion. So that's an increase of $143 billion a year in spending on defense and non-defense. If you're worried about the debt and deficits, Congressman Suozzi, how do you get behind that?
Yeah, that's something I'm thinking about right now. I'm very interested in us working together to try and come up with a plan to actually keep the government moving forward. People that are concerned about defense and the military, Secretary Mattis was just testifying in our committee yesterday and talking about how dangerous these continuing resolutions are, and we need long-term spending plans to help our military and to help every single department that we have throughout the federal government. So I'm interested in a bipartisan plan, but I'm also concerned about the fact that we're increasing the deficit. And, the talk about newfound Democrats, Republicans, we're all in this together, okay? Republicans and Democrats, different people from each party have paid attention to deficits for a long time. Other people have not paid attention to it. I'm concerned that as we increase the deficit, we're going to see an impact on our interest rates, and that's going to cause even more debt for the federal government. I work in a group called the Problem Solvers Caucus. I'm the vice chairman. There's 24 Democrats, 24 Republicans. We have talked over and over again about how we want to have plans working together, but increasing the deficit is one of the worst things we can do.
But how does it help with Nancy Pelosi, the Congresswoman, calling $1,000 bonuses pathetic crumbs? Do you think $1,000 to one of your constituents, Congressman Suozzi, is crumbs?
I absolutely don't think that's the case, and I think that the idea was that it was a small percentage was going to lower income people. But in America, there's 105 million full-time jobs. 59 million people make less than $50,000 a year. 86 million people make less than $75,000 a year. So $1,000 is a big impact on a lot of families, especially these folks that are making $50,000 a year, $75,000
I've said it.
I'm
the child of small business owners who were never helped by the government, and to say $1,000, which where I grew up can feed a family of 4 for a month, I just found that to be just completely deaf.